Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where Alex and I aim to answer your bike and tech and maintenance and cycling related questions. You can submit your questions as ever using the hashtag askgcntech down in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible within the allotted time.
All right. First question in is from Thomas. It says, I'm an old fart in Lycra. I already have an 11 to 40 at the back of my beloved Specialized Roubaix, but in a few years I may have to move on to an e-bike to get up my local Welsh hills. Can I assume that I can still use my stages or a pedal-based power meter to measure my personal output? But will I be able to simultaneously record the level of electrical assistance or total power output to the rear wheel in order to monitor and minimize my dependency on the motor? Well, yes, you can still use a power meter crank if it's compatible with the system that you get on the e-bike, and you can use your power meter pedals. But I don't know that there's a way of combining the numbers together from what the e-bike element is doing.
No, power meter pedals would probably be the best way to do this. But yes, you can still measure the sort of effort that you're putting out, and then you'll have an idea of what the motor's doing on top of that. But
yeah, most brands will have a guidance on like a high, medium, low setting and how much assistance that motor is giving you. So then you can sort of roughly estimate it. All right, next question.
Harland Hyde is next with a question saying, why is my cassette making a clicking/grinding noise?
I mean, there's loads of different options here.
There is.
Cassette could be worn, chain could be worn. Derailleur might not be indexed, it might not be set up correctly, and combine any of those together, you're going to get a noisy bike.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, sometimes people, it could be where the cassette is biting onto the free hub body and maybe there's a little bit of play.
Yeah.
Also, if someone puts a new cassette on a free hub body and they don't grease it, that can often create a little bit of noise. That's just apply some nice thick assembly grease onto there. That makes things quieter. So yeah, a few different things that it could be.
Ted Murphy next says, is there any noticeable loss of power when you switch to a power meter setup? So much R&D energy is spent on making our bikes stiff and responsive, and a power meter seems slightly counterintuitive to me, as it seems like some sort of sensor must squish before power is sent to the bike. I'm sure the energy loss is pretty low since the pros use power meters, but maybe it's worth testing a few different types of power meters to see if there is any difference in efficiency. No, well, there is no power loss by just monitoring the power. It's literally the tiniest little sensor which is placed onto the surface of your crank, and it's monitoring the tiniest little bit of deflection in the crank, which is there whether the sensor's there or not.
Yeah, strain gauges are teeny, tiny little things that measure tiny amounts of deflection, like it says. Yeah. No, it's not like that. What you might be getting confused with is, say, something like a dynamo hub, which does actually cause resistance in the wheel in which the dynamo hub is placed. So you are taking energy out to power the dynamo. So yeah, that's like that. Yeah, dynamo hub would slow you down and create resistance.
Yeah, okay, cool. Claire is saying, any hints on loosening a thru-axle with a multi-tool? I've had to call for a ride home more than once because I couldn't remove the thru-axle. Yeah, I think we do have some good tips. Make sure you don't over-tighten them in the first place. Grease the threads and make sure you have like an Allen key or multi-tool that gives you enough leverage.
Yeah, and have like a good quality multi-tool and just good quality. Like, one of the things that I would always say is, like, you can get bargains and cheap products in certain things and it's fine. But like tools and Allen keys in particular, like, don't buy cheap. Don't be tempted by the middle of Lidl. The middle of Lidl. The middle aisle.
Yeah, but the middle of Lidl, now that they're with the Trek Lidl team,
yeah, well, you see those,
the quality might be bumping up now.
You see, like, something like that. You see like some real, bargain-looking set of Allen keys.
Yeah.
But they're often made of cheese. Whereas if you spend more and get like the premium, like a Park Tool Allen key, they're expensive, but relatively speaking, but you buy once.
Yeah, it's going to last.
And that's it.
It's going to last your time.
Last your lifetime.
Yeah. Okay. Next
and they don't round out your thru-axle bolts.
Very good point.
Jarry, 1973. Wax chains rust. How good a lubricant is waxed?
Well, I think wax is a fantastic lubricant, but it's not necessarily a great rust inhibitor.
No, because you're not caking the whole chain in like a lube.
Yeah.
So this becomes a problem if you ride in like a wet environment or a damp environment, or if you store your bike in a damp or wet environment.
Yes.
So if you live in California, it's probably not a problem. If you live in the UK,
South Wales,
and you're putting your bike in a dank shed,
yeah,
then it can go rusty. Something I actually do in the winter, which I've found to great effect, helped my bike, not just the chain, but other parts. I put the bike in a room with a dehumidifier.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Dried it out, and I didn't get any rust and wear, and the bearings lasted longer. That's a good tip. But with the wax chains, if you are riding in wet environments, I would say that there's an argument that unless you're keeping on top of the maintenance, wax chain might not be the best, and you might want to go for like the synergetic.
Yeah, like a sort of wet-based lubricant.
A good wet lube, not a crap one that's just going to grind paste and wear out your chain. But
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Last question, also a wax-related question from Plato Alley. Say, how many times can you reuse or remelt paraffin wax? When should you throw it away and use a new batch? What do you?
Indefinitely, when it runs out. Like you're using the wax when it's running out because you're taking a bit out each time. But as long as you're not like severely contaminating it by putting dirty chains in it.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've got into the habit of doing is, I get a chain when it's brand new, I chain strip it with the chain stripper, which is great. Wax it once.
Only chain stripper, yeah, we've got some about that.
And then once the chain has been immersive waxed once, for the rest of that chain's life, all I do is then maintain it, topping it up with the drip on.
That's a good process to do.
And then I'm never like, that's just the way I do it.
So yeah, basically keep the wax nice and clean, and provided you don't like boil it to within an inch of its life, you can just keep.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So if you're using like an actual, like the crock pot method we showed, where that's the difference. Like a cheap little heating thing will develop hot spots, and it will burn the wax. But if you're using a device which doesn't burn it,
like evenly spreads the heat.
Yeah, it doesn't, and thermostatically controls the heat digitally, then it's fine, and you don't ever burn your wax.
Or just use drip on wax and don't have any of that stress.
Yeah.
Right, that's it for this week's GCN Tech Clinic. Hopefully that's answered your burning tech questions. If we haven't, once again, sorry, but keep putting them in the comment section down below. And in the coming weeks, we might actually get to them. Right, see you later.
Bye.